I should really have a cocktail for this tag, not a glass of wine, but other than like a super basic gin and tonic, I don't like most cocktails, and I'm also not creative enough to make them at home, so we're going with the wine bar spirit. Hi everyone, Rosie here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel, and cheers! Today we are doing the bar and the bookcase tag. I was tagged by Nat of Nerdy Nat Reads, who is lovely. Make sure you go check out her channel. And the original is by The Bar and the Bookcase. So self-named tag, very good publicity, love to see it. The first prompt is an old-fashioned, and it asks for a historical fiction recommendation. I feel like I've talked about this book recently on this channel, in which case I apologize, but I think it's on my mind because I want to keep reading the series, and that's Dissolution by C J Sansom. My head always wants to say Samson, which is not this author's name, so I have to check. This is a historical mystery series about a lawyer in, I think, Tudor England. I think it's during the time of Henry VIII. Yeah, Dissolution. The first book is set during the dissolution of the monasteries. And this guy's a lawyer, and for reasons that I don't remember, he gets pulled into solving crimes. I first read this series so long ago that it was before I had Goodreads, and then I reread the first two books a couple of years ago. Wait. I reread the first two books 5 years ago. Oh my goodness, time flies. And I really want to continue this series. I really remember enjoying it the first time. I liked the first two books when I reread them. And I think the reason I keep bringing it up is I really want to get to the third. Maybe I should do that soon? Let me know down below. What do you think? Question 2 is Sidecar, a book with a strong supporting character. And look, I know this is a cliche. I know you all expect me to say this. I know you're probably all gonna go, of course you chose that when I say it. But how can it be anything other than Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien? I'm sorry, name a better supporting character, a stronger, more supportive friend than Samwise Gamgee. It's okay, I'll wait. We can wait. Let me know when you've got one. Some things are a cliche for a reason. The third prompt is Manhattan, a book set in New York. I've probably read loads of other books set in New York, but this one just won't get out of my head. And it is Lillian Boxfish Takes a Walk by Kathleen Rooney. I read this in January of this year and really didn't like it. I didn't like it for a number of reasons, but the one I'm going to highlight here is that it is supposedly a love letter to the city of New York, but it does not feel like it is plausibly set in New York whatsoever. Maybe someone who's more familiar with the city will correct me down below and say that actually random strangers have heartwarming, deep conversations with random little old ladies who are wandering the streets at night all the time in New York, and that everyone is perfectly pleasant and has an emotional addition to the story that you're telling. But I'm sorry, this does not feel like any city I have ever been in. The next prompt is Bloody Mary, a book that scared you / messed you up. And if we're talking traditional, fear response, honestly, I can't really think of one. I don't tend to read scary books. They're not really my thing. At least I don't think they are. The books that would probably elicit the biggest fear response from me would be anything about climate change, because I have really bad climate anxiety. But because I have really bad climate anxiety, I don't read books about climate change because I know that they will just destroy me. So I try and get my climate change related information from smaller, more digestible sources where I can spend 5-10 minutes ingesting information and then not 5 hours. So I try and stay informed, but also just get on with living my life and making as many eco-friendly decisions as I can without getting into panic, stress. The world is in such a bad state and it's never going to be fixed. And I know that sounds extreme, but that's actually a conversation I've had with my partner. Moving on. This is a much more fun one to talk about. Espresso Martini, a book that kept you up all night, or kept you reading late into the night. This is actually a fairly recent read for me, and it was Parnassus on Wheels by Christopher Morley. I read this in March for March of the Moderns, and okay, to be fair, it's not like I picked this up when I was sleepy. I picked this up at like midnight because it was late and I was trying to fall asleep and my brain was wide awake and whirring and probably like making lists or something in my head. And I thought, perfect. This one sounds like it'll put me right to sleep. And instead I read the 120 pages straight through and then read another book. So like the book had the advantage of my brain just like wasn't in sleep mode when I picked it up, but I did stay up all night reading it. In case you missed my March wrap-up, which will be linked up there, I think, Parnassus on Wheels is a hilarious story about a middle-aged house sister. I'm coining this term because she's basically a housewife, but for her brother, not her husband, so house sister, who one day gets up, buys a mobile bookshop, horse-drawn cart that is a bookshop, and sets out to live her fucking life. And it is delightful. The next prompt is Sazerac, a book that left you disoriented. I don't usually feel very disoriented by my books. Sometimes I feel like I don't understand them, or like there's more to them that I'm not getting, but I'm not usually disoriented. But I definitely was when I finished The Visitors by Catherine Burns. I did a vlog about this book last October, which I'll link up there. But basically it's supposed to be a horror mystery type novel. That's what the billed as. It's about a very timid middle-aged woman who lives in her childhood home with her domineering brother, and something's going on. Why isn't she allowed to go in the basement? Ooh, what's gonna be happening? I hadn't read much horror before I picked this book up. I don't think I'd ever read a horror book, and I haven't since, to be fair. But there was nothing horrifying, or shocking, or mysterious in this book, which is why I was disoriented. I wasn't disoriented because I was like, whoa, how did that work? How did all that come? Oh my goodness, I see how that... I was just left sitting going, huh? What's going on here? This is mystery. This is horror. Why did I know everything that was going to happen from the blurb? Is that how this is supposed to work? Which is not to say that horrifying things don't happen in this book. They do. There's some really awful things described here. It's just that the writing was not at all eliciting any sort of emotional response in me, which I kind of expected it to. So I was a bit disoriented. Then we come to A Long Island Iced Tea, a book that is doing too much. Bonus points if it works anyways. This answer's maybe a bit trite, but I'm going with Never Enough, The Neuroscience and Experience of Addiction by Judith Grisel. This is, as the title would tell you, all about addiction and how different chemical substances affect our brains and our bodies and form dependencies and make us addicted to them. And it looks at it both from a very scientific side and also from the author's own anecdotes about her experience with addiction. I say drinking. And the reason that this book is doing too much is that it's like a 250-page book that's nonfiction, so there's a fair number of notes at the end. So it's not even a full 250 pages of text. It covers a whole host of different drugs and includes the science and the author's experience. This should not work. This should be way too much content for the size of book that it is. And yet it was fantastic, and it worked perfectly. I don't know how she did it, but it was awesome. Next up is a Negroni, which asks for a book with a love triangle. I'm sure I have read books with love triangles, but I sure as fuck can't think of one right now. So we're moving on to the next question, which is Bay Breeze, a book with light, chill, and or heartwarming vibes. I've picked My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. I think this one's been on my mind because Emerita loves it and she's mentioned it a couple times recently, so I'm thinking about it. This is like a humorous memoir about the author's experience of his childhood on the Greek island of Corfu in the 1930s, and like just the shenanigans he and his siblings and his family got up to. I listened to the audiobook of this while on a road trip a few years ago, and it was legit like laugh out loud funny. Just sitting in the car driving and laughing my head off. I should really read the rest of them. Emerita says they're good. I should do that sometime. You guys know I have enough series to read, but like, I have fond memories now and I want to read the rest of this trilogy. The second last prompt is A Dark and Stormy, my drink of choice in university. And this asks for a book that is dark, thrilling, and menacing. Bonus points if the setting matches. I've chosen The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. This is a mystery set aboard a ship in the 1600s, and something is hunting the crew and passengers. Is it human? Is it supernatural? Who will die next? Very unclear, very creepy. This book had me seriously at the edge of my seat. It was thrilling and tense, and the setting absolutely matches. Like I said, it's a sailing ship, so a lot of the book takes place below deck where there is very little light, it's very crowded, it's just spooky feeling. So this one was definitely dark and thrilling. But not in like a... Is it a thriller? Is it a mystery? I think it's a mystery, but it's like a thrilling mystery. Well, fuck you too to my camera battery, which lasted through almost 4 videos. 3 entire videos, and then decided to just shut the camera off before the last prompt of the last video, which is Martini, a classic recommendation. And I'm honestly not too sure what this prompt is looking for. If you're asking me to recommend a classic, I'm gonna pass on that because I don't feel like I've read enough classics yet to have opinions and be able to recommend them. However, if you're asking me for a classic recommendation on my channel, one that everyone is gonna go, "Oh, Rosie, stop recommending that book already," well, then you're gonna hear about The Mercies by Kiran Millwood-Hargrave. This is set in the very far north of Norway in a tiny village on an island in the early 1600s. All of the men in the village die at sea while fishing, and just when the women are starting to figure out how to cope with life as it now is, a witchfinder shows up. I absolutely love this book. I have recommended it to literally everybody, and if you're just joining us now, welcome. You're part of the Rosie Cockshutt Booktube channel now because you've been recommended The Mercies. And all that is left is to tag some people. I'm going to tag Emma of A Cup of Books because she reads so widely and reads such interesting books that I feel like she's going to have some super cool answers for some of these. I'm also going to tag Amy of Potato Brarian. I think I mentioned this in my Under the Influence tag, but again, she has fabulous choice in wine and beers and stuff to drink while filming, so come on Amy, do your thing. This is the perfect tag for your, like, you call it your cave. I think it's got like a bar vibe YouTube channel. And I'm also going to tag Pay of Attention, partly because I want to see his answers, because, I mean, he always does have amazing answers, but also because he's the best at snarking on strangely worded prompts. And like, come on, I want to know what you have to say about these prompts. I'm sure it's going to be hilarious. Also, I'm sorry because I know you find doing tags super stressful, so no pressure. And of course, as always, no pressure to anyone if I tag you. And if I didn't tag you, feel free to do this tag. I would love to see your answers either in a video or in a comment down below. And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more of my videos, please hit subscribe. And thank you for watching.